The higher you climb, the more confidence challenges multiply. And even though we said the 50K confidence gap, what we're really talking about is what happens once your team reaches these 1, 2, 3 million dollar sales. See, a lot of people like to think that when you become a high performer, that all of a sudden your confidence just skyrockets through the roof. While it does temporarily, what I also know is that your team, their confidence is now sitting in a place that you may not understand. So let's get clear on the confidence gap. Here's what your team is actually thinking. I just handled the biggest deal ever. Now I feel like an imposter. Your team is thinking, did they just get lucky? Can they do that again? They have the pressure to repeat that success, and it's really crushing them because they really are not sure if they have the confidence to really fulfill it again. Your team is really feeling like every future client expects that level of performance. But now here you and I are to speak about your bottom line. Even though you, as the CEO, you feel like, well, if the team did it once, they can do it again. Great job, team. You should be able to keep this going. They want to keep it going. They really do. Your team wants to impress you. They want to impress themselves. They enjoy those high value sales. They enjoy those $50,000 closings, $3 million closings. They enjoy all of this. But your team is actually struggling with performance anxiety. And the more high value deals you close, the larger that anxiety gets. Your team is struggling with isolation, trying to figure out like, where is that balance of vulnerability? And let's be honest, once your team starts to hit those big numbers, they feel even more isolated because they need to know, can they show that level of vulnerability to their peers, to their clients? Just imagine it. It's the day after that $3.5 million sale. And though last night your team went out, celebrated, had some drinks, everything's good, that high then comes down and the reality sets in. And now they're struggling with the pressures of their identity, thinking, am I supposed to have it all figured out? What happens to me now when my peers come to me and say, how did you do that? What are some tips? What are some strategies? How can I get that the same way you did? That same team member has the fear of losing it all, right? See, what happens is success creates this illusion that now you have more to lose. Because when they're making it up and going up, up, up on the sales strategy, you know the concept of people feel like the higher they are, the higher they fall, the harder they fall, the lower they fall. Your team is suffering with that decision fatigue. Because here's what's really happening. While someone has to make the $1 million decisions for others, they're temporarily doubting themselves. This reminds me of when I was at leadership at CarMax, and a lot of the team's initiatives were built off of monetary incentives, right? Just like in your business. And what I would see is that while there was an overall goal to be accomplished at the end of the month, again, maybe $300,000, right? Easily by the end of the month, mid-month, there's a push to have at least half of that already satisfied, right? And so what happens is while your team is going through the everyday imposter syndrome, you're sitting back just thinking, they got this, they did this before. You know, if they have any questions, they'll come to me. I'm here to support them. That's not a truth, and you're really living in an illusion. That's the confidence gap. The gap is that between the implementing of the deal and the securing of the deal, there are so many confidence obstacles that your team is facing, it impacts your bottom line. Because the reality is that unless you intentionally lean into your team and help them work through that performance anxiety, help them not feel isolated, help them recognize that their identity is based in who they are, the ability to have authentic connections, the ability to be able to say, I am not the 3.5 million deal. I am the person who closed the deal. It is because who I am and because of who they are. That's how they attracted the deal, right? The confidence gap is you stepping in to say, I know my team is fearful of losing it all. So instead of sitting back between the 1st and the 15th of each month and just again saying, well, my team has it, they've done this before, you actually lean in and say, I know my team may just feel like they got lucky this time. So, what pressures, what positive pressures, honestly, can you provide to your team to help them see that helping their confidence is inevitably what impacts the bottom line? Being there for them to recognize that they need a performance coach. Your team needs someone who recognizes that even though they may not earn millions all the time, it's okay to have a coach who can help them see that the real success comes when you value who you are as a person personally and then implement that into how you are showing up professionally. What I also want to talk about today is that it is your responsibility as the CEO to recognize that the value of your team does not lie in the value in your bank account, right? It is really the expertise of your team that even helps the bank account grow. But you have to see that even though your team is closing large deals, they still have that feeling and that reality of having 10 new clients who are possibly expecting that same level of service, right? They may feel like they have a pressure from you to repeat that performance, right? Take into consideration that while your team is hitting these big, large deals for you, that your team may fear that that's their peak and that they don't know how to maintain that level of success. You have to really recognize that there is an anxiety that builds up in your team about handling even bigger deals. Because what if the first one is 3.5 million and the next one is 5? Again, if you're just sitting back thinking, my team has this, they're good, they're super confident, when they then don't perform the way you want them to, you're going to be trying to figure out where's the problem, where's the gap. It's the confidence that impacts your bottom line. So let's talk solutions because you know we love some good solutions, okay? When I work with you, I help you see as a CEO that you have to have like a bulletproof confidence system. And this has to be able to be applied for any deal size. See, the confidence again starts personally and then it rolls over professionally. That's so unique because we live in a market and we live in a world now where, again, once you have your team members and you're comfortable with them, you're thinking they got this. They're not imposters. They can just do it. But again, those identity pressures are real within your team. That's why I help you build out that bulletproof confidence system, taking the learnings and the knowledge of your team and then actually implementing them into your business so that way you can see small deal for 50K, large deal for 3 million. Either way it goes, when you have that confidence system, that RAD methodology, that 4C framework for executive presence that I help you work through, you now are able to be the leader for your team and the support that they need to continue to close those deals. Another thing that I provide for you when we work together is being inside of that space where you have that pre negotiation ritual that can guarantee you that peak performance. This reminds me of last week when I had a sales call. And on the sales call, the lady was telling me about how her team is struggling on their sales calls, how they're robotic and how they can't seem to just be fluid, and how even though she can let them listen to calls and give them some scripts and give them all of the tools and resources that she feel like she can, what she's really missing is that pre-negotiation ritual. See, oftentimes with our teams, we think that the answer is to just give more training, give more training, give more training, when sometimes the answer is to actually create new ways of feeling good before we even get to the action, right? Reminds me of one of my clients right now in the Business Confidence Academy. On our call yesterday, we were speaking, and I was telling her her homework for this week is to get back into her morning routine, get back into giving herself that time to work on how she's feeling, that self confidence formula, again, that pre negotiation ritual, the act that you do before you even get to work, before you even get on the calls. It's the mindset reframing that closes the gap, right? From again feeling like an imposter to actually closing another big deal. We see these gaps, excuse me, sometimes as um, barriers in the business. It's easy to just feel like, okay, well, if they're not doing this right, then they must not be a good fit. Or are they even still good at this? Is this even a good opportunity for them? But what I want you to know is that when we work together, I help you build that mental resilience for handling rejections and setbacks. Sometimes your team rejects the training that you give. That's a gap. Sometimes after your team hits that 3.5 million, maybe the rest of the deals are only 600,000. That could feel like a setback, right? But when we work together, I help you recognize that as long as you're willing to work on your team confidence, your bottom line will always be positively affected from there. Because the reality is you have to be inside of a space where your team trusts you to be the leader. It's no longer good enough for you to see that the team is performing, but you're standing back. It's no longer good enough for you to just say, oh, they got it. And if they need me, they'll come to me. Because here's the reality, having that mindset that the team is just good and they got it because they've done it before, inevitably not addressing that confidence gap, your team is hesitating to pursue those $5 million deals because they lack the confidence, right? That then, of course, will cause them to feel like they can start underpricing the service, constantly feeling they need to offer people a discount or the lowest option. It's because, again, they're feeling like an imposter. These are all the gaps inside of the confidence of your team that you have to see. Just because they did it once, that doesn't mean that they have the confidence to keep doing it over and over and over. They need you as a leader to either support them or bring somebody in, somebody with executive presence like me, who can help you see that you're losing deals to more confident competitors. As a CEO, you cannot just pass the buck to the team. You cannot know that you need to have more executive presence, but you just pass it to the most confident team member. You can't know that your team has imposter syndrome and then you just pass it to the next team member who you feel like can address it. right? You can't hear these truths on this podcast episode and just think, okay, well, they'll be okay. No, that inevitably will lead to burnout from the pressure of just trying to maintain that energy. So, again, when we work together, what I'm really, really giving you and what makes me different from other coaches is that I truly understand the psychology of success and not just the mechanics of making sales in the business, right? That psychology of success that says, with the right frameworks, with the right knowledge, with the right ability to read the room, make better connections, be a connection specialist, have that blend between personal and professional confidence, inevitably, the confidence gap will be closed. Recognizing too that I'm a neutral individual, so I'm no competitive threat. And my pure focus is on your mental game, your mental being inside of a space where you actively act on the desires that pop inside of your head to help your team feel more confident, to help you feel more confident as the leader. It always starts with you. Always, always, always. What's so beautiful too about bringing me in for you is that I see patterns within you that you can't see yourself because I'm coming in with a fresh perspective on your blind spots. It's just like when you're selling your services inside of your business, you're able to see your clients' blind spots and you help them out with that immediately because you already know that you're coming with a good product and service. It's the same thing when I work with you as your executive coach, right? What's most important though is me providing you this safe space. It's hard, okay? It is again a crisis amongst successful women to think that confidence just skyrockets after you make the big deals. When the truth is that it can sometimes make you shrink more than what you felt like before you actually hit the big deal from simply trying to maintain the image. So, what I want you to do is recognize that the real conversation that we're having here is you getting out of the thought process of feeling inside of your mind that everybody thinks you're killing it, but you're really terrified. I want to help you see that the confidence gap that your team is feeling like, can they close that next big one? What if the clients figure out that they're not as confident as they appear? Know that you need someone who can help you feel as confident as everyone thinks that you are. I'm that executive presence coach for you. So head over to briellebanks.com and book a call with me. This way, that $50,000 confidence gap that's holding you back, that $3 million confidence gap that's holding your team back and impacting your bottom line, I'm here to help you close that gap. We can do it together in 3 months. We can do it together in 6 months. Either way, I'm super excited for us to be going on this journey together. I'm Breye'l Banks with the Create and Grow Your Dream Business podcast. And until next time, I'll see you soon. I'm looking forward to you booking your call, Queen.